On Dirt Racing News here at the Merrittville Speedway, getting ready for the Spring Sizzler, and tonight added to the card are the Patriot Sprint Tour sprint cars here at Merrittville Speedway to kick off the 2013 season. I'm Greg Kellnan, standing here with the voice of the Patriot Sprint Tour, Mr. Rich Vleck. And Rich, tonight the season kicks off. Your first race got rained out at Fulton, and you've got to be excited to get 2013 underway.
Well, Greg, these April races are always a little tricky. We always wonder, if we're going to get them in. We got fortunate with Fulton last year, not as much this year, but we are really pumped about tonight. Wasn't sure about the weather here even at the end of April, but with no question that we're going to get the show in. A lot of good cars from a lot of different places tonight.
Now, rewinding the clock back to last year, 2012, we'll start there. And bit of a surprise at the top of the heap at the end of the season at top of the standings. Talk about that.
Well, Scott Kruder claimed the championship on the American side, and last year was our first year with the American and the Canadian tours being split up totally. On the American side, Brian Holland looked like he had the championship, had a mechanical failure on the last night, and Scott Kruder was steady, especially in the second half of the year. But he kind of snuck up on everybody. He's got the target on his back tonight. He's one of those drivers that looks to run the American and Canadian tours full time. Not a whole lot of drivers doing that, and that's the interesting thing. Tonight is our first race in the PST Canada Series, and there's a number of drivers, even some of the ones behind us right now. There's no conflicts with the PST Canada races all season long, and a lot of drivers are going to be running that full tour for $5,000 to win the championship.
Now, talk about some of the drivers that will be in the Canadian side of it. Obviously, there's such a strong contingent here just in Ontario and Quebec alone that it begged for this series to happen. Talk about who you think is going to be at the top.
Well, Justin Barger was the champion last year, and he probably made the largest tow of anyone down from southern New York. Not sure he's running the full tour this year. One of the guys that might be doing some other sorts of racing down in the western part of the United States. Second in points was Jamie Collard, though, and you got to keep an eye on Jamie. Likes running at a number of different events. I think back to his first career win at Humberstone when the track got slick. He had to run the bottom. Could see that tonight at Merrittville. Of course, the whole Steyrs camp is going to be strong, but even some of those drivers from Quebec, Alain Bergeron, Mikel Perrant, Patrick Vigneault, and of course Steve Poirier, who is always fast. Just some of the names of the Canadians that could claim the PST Canada Championship.
Now, you look at the Ontario portion of the tour this year for the Patriots, and visiting almost every track this year, including going for a standalone date at South Buxton. It's got to be pretty exciting for the Patriots, the way it's expanded so much north of the border.
Yeah, a lot of expansion has been done, and some of the races are co-sanctioned. We've got some co-sanctioned events with SOS, and also the new Chaos Series out of Quebec. So, it will help the car count a little bit. South Buxton, the races for the Northern Summer Nationals were great. I'm glad we're able to still have a race there because those fans are fantastic, and the racing's pretty good. We've seen some very good events over the last few years.
Now, talk about the Patriot Sprint Tour. Folks obviously can get all their news right here on Dirt Racing News, but talk about how they can get in touch with you, follow you, find your schedules, and so on and so forth.
Well, PatriotSprintTour.com is the easiest way, but of course our Twitter and Facebook pages are always running. Try to tweet over the course of the night. That also goes to our Facebook page, and a lot of people like to stay connected that way because even if you can't make it to the event, it feels like you're there as we go through the night. We've got a lot of things happening this year. This is our 10th anniversary season. We actually hit the 10-year mark of the first Patriot race next Friday night at Black Rock, so we're really excited about that. I think this is race 196 for us, so by the end of May we're going to be hitting our 200th race, so a lot of big events coming around this year.
Now, one last question I'll ask you. Tonight, this track, as Tommy Googe mentioned in his column today, we don't see very often do we see a repeat winner here. In fact, Brian Holland, the only one that hasn't, he's not here tonight. Who's your pick tonight here at Merrittville?
Oh, boy, it's tough. I think it might be held by a driver from this side of the border. It might be somebody from Quebec, but there's a number of names that could take it home. I think Jared Zimbardi and Justin Barger are probably the biggest American contingent, but Scott Kruder had a good run going here. I actually picked up his first career Patriot win back in 2009, so you can't count him out. But for the Canadian side, Steve Poirier has just been on a complete tear. You think back to last year, I think he won like 25 or 30% of his events. He won the Canadian Nationals. He won at Brockville. He kicks off the year last night at Can-Am, picks up a win. So he's an odds-on favorite, but I'd like to see one of those local guys, Chris Steele, the Hoppenins, Travis Cunningham, because they know how to run these slick tracks. They're going to be in the mix.
Well, there you go. That's Rich Vleck here at the Merrittville Speedway getting ready for the Spring Sizzler. I'm Greg Kellnan, and we've got you covered on Dirt.